It's Wednesday, July 1st, 2020, and this is Digital Trends Live. And hello, everyone. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Digital Trends Live, and thanks for joining us wherever you are. We appreciate it. We broadcast live here every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you trending tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions, and so much more. And we're broadcasting live on a number of platforms, so you can join in the conversations that we get to have. A lot happening on the show, but let's start off with some trending news, and we'll go to the backlash against Facebook right now. And that has to do with a number of companies who are blocking and boycotting advertising on the platform because they have disagreements with how Facebook is handling moderation of content. And a lot of this has to do with political advertising and false misinformation, bullying that goes on there on the site, a lot of things that come along with some of the advertising that's happened in the political side. So these major advertisers are backing out. So it's part of a group called Stop Hate for Profit, and they're part of the organizers of this. It comes from the Anti-Defamation League, the NAACP, and Color of Change. They're all part of this, and they've brought along all of these different companies. So they've outlined 10 different demands for Facebook that includes allowing people who experience severe harassment to speak with a Facebook employee and giving refunds to brands whose ads show up next to offensive content that is later removed. So a lot to go along with that. And Facebook has released some policies, but they have allowed a lot of advertising to continue on that does have what would be considered violations of those demands. Now, we have word that finally, because of the backlash and all of these advertisers that are backing out, starting today, really, starting in July, some have backed out for the rest of the year, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg has agreed to meet with the organizers of the boycott. So that came out late last night. So we'll see what comes of this, if Facebook does change their policies. Social media platforms all across the board are trying to figure out how to moderate content when it comes to that kind of thing. But this is a big push once you get those dollars involved. So Mark Zuckerberg going to meet with them. We'll see what comes of that. You can read more about it at digitaltrends.com. Let's get some other trending news. Let's go to Uber, in particular, how you are going to be taking Ubers from now on. Now, they did have a mask order in place for Ubers to where the driver and the rider had to wear a mask. And that was supposed to end yesterday, but now they've extended it out indefinitely, especially with the rise in COVID-19 cases, to where if you take an Uber, you're going to have to wear a mask or they can refuse service. And that goes both ways. You can also report a driver who's not wearing one. There's another partnership they have launched, too, with Clorox, to where they're going to be in thousands. They said they're distributing hundreds of thousands of canisters of this cleaning supply. So the Clorox wipes that are going to be in the cars, and then they're instructing both drivers and passengers to help clean and maintain the cleanliness of the vehicle. So there's a guide there for if you're getting in. They said that certainly seat belts are a big touch point to where you'd want to be concerned with that. And they'll provide these wipes so that you can actually wipe it down yourself. There's videos that have gone up. And again, this is all different ways that they're trying to mitigate some of the concerns that come with COVID-19. So that's going to change up a little bit about how you take a ride. And then is Uber with their update. Now we go to Lyft with something else that they are bringing back, at least for right now, and that is driverless vehicle testing. So Lyft has made it no secret. A number of these companies are trying to work on that to where they have driverless vehicles, and you have to test those out on the road with actual engineers in the car. Now, they had suspended it. They'd suspended what they were doing because of the fact that COVID-19 made it a little bit, a lot unsafe, according to them. But now they are lifting that ban, so they are going to be testing it again on the streets of Palo Alto in California, where they're going to have 2 engineers in there, but they're going to have a actual plastic sheeting in between the 2 of them. They're going to have all kinds of different safety mechanisms in place. They're going to be wearing face shields. They have to take regular temperature checks. But this is coming back right now on the heels of rising cases. So this could be suspended as well. But if you are in that area, you could see some of these Lyft vehicles. Now, you will see, like I said, engineers that'll be in there, but they'll be hands off on the wheel, taking over when necessary. But something that Lyft announced that they are starting it back up for right now. Continuing on here with trending news, again, taking a look at what is happening in the world of technology and how it could affect you. This is something that's a trending story right now that's pretty interesting. It's not going to be a product that's going to be out anytime soon, but still pretty fascinating when it comes down to it. So this is a new glove that can actually translate in real time sign language into verbal language. So what you're looking at right there is this glove that somebody would wear. And as you can see on that screen, that app, it's interpreting what different signs this person is doing. And then actually there's an audio response too that spells it out and then says what it was, which was "I love you." And this is being developed by UCLA researchers. We're trying to come up with better ways to communicate, especially for people who are deaf and need this kinds of translation to help out with people who aren't. And it's kind of a great thing that they're doing with it. So they said it's analog tribo-electrification and electrostatic induction-based signals. Somehow I got that out, that they're using, that they're really translating when it comes down to that. So this one in particular is pretty interesting. There's other ones that are out there where they use light and they can actually just follow along with cameras, but if the lighting is bad, it doesn't work as well. So this glove really is a lot more precise. They said they're looking for maybe in the next few years to get this actually out into the market, but still pretty cool use of technology, and that's why that's trending right there. We've got an article up at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on with some trending news for you today. Let's talk about Spotify. A lot of people are streaming more music, listening to more podcasts right now, especially in the era of the pandemic. And Spotify has added a new plan. They've been making several different changes and adding new content, but this is a new plan for people who are, well, couples. That's what they're looking for. So it's called Premium Duo. And they've got these other tiers that are up there. There's family plans. There's all kinds of other ones. But this one is different because you only share in between two people. So the Premium Family has up to 6 accounts. This Premium Duo is 2 accounts, but it gives you access to ad-free streaming for 2 people. And it is $12.99 a month instead of $9.99 a month. So it definitely is a lot of savings on there. But this is something that they're offering. Now, this had been out worldwide in a few different test markets for about a year. But now it is coming to the US, the UK, and a number of other places as well. So it's kind of rolling out everywhere. But again, that's Spotify Premium Duo, so a different streaming tier for them. If you have one streaming account, it is kind of hard to get around that. So this is a way to do that. So that is Spotify, again, with Premium Duo with their account right there. All right, taking a look here, like I said, at Trending News, which is what we do here on Digital Trends Live every day. I want to thank everybody for joining us. I want you to hit that subscribe button, join the show, but let's talk about space for a minute. So this is going on, actually, I believe right now for probably a few more hours, but it is a spacewalk, the second spacewalk here in about a week, where 2 astronauts are out trying to do some repairs and fixing some different solar power, some different batteries that are getting changed out, and actually they were so far ahead of schedule, they're even doing a few other things. But it's continuing from that mission last week, and there's some footage of 2 of the astronauts. So it's Chris Cassidy and Robert Behnken. Robert Behnken being of Bob and Doug, who are out there for this spacewalk. So they're going to replace batteries on 1 of 2 power channels, and then they've got some of these other experiments that they're going to be doing and things that they're going to be testing and running some more cable and all kinds of different stuff that they have to do there out on these spacewalks. But still pretty fascinating to see where they're going with this. And again, this is all part of this mission right now, where you got Bob and Doug up there in the Crew Dragon capsule. They'll be returning probably sometime in August. They haven't announced exactly when it'll be yet, but still continuing on with this Crew Dragon demo too, and now doing the spacewalk in association with that. There's some great footage that NASA has up of both the spacewalk and of the Crew Dragon capsule itself, but you can read more about all of that at digitaltrends.com.
Hey, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. It's now time for the product of the day.
It is indeed time for the product of the day, and it is this. You want good sound when you're watching television, that's what this is for. This is the Vizio 5.1.2 channel soundbar system with a 6-inch wireless subwoofer and Dolby Atmos sound. That's a real key right there, the Dolby Atmos sound. If you have not experienced Dolby Atmos at home, it is pretty incredible. It does kind of change the game a lot. So this is good for all of that stuff. It's also got a SmartCast mobile app. It's got Chromecast built in. So it's got Wi-Fi streaming as well. It's got Bluetooth music capabilities, of course. And you can also use your voice to control the soundbar because it's got Google Assistant right there. So it's got all of that set up for you. The 6-inch wireless subwoofer, 2 upward firing speakers, 2 rear surround speakers, and like I said, back to that Dolby Atmos sound. Pretty cool system. So right now you can take advantage of this deal with that link that's right below me, or whatever platform you're watching this on right now. We probably have a link right there, and that is for this Vizio home theater system. So the normal price is $499.99, normally $500. It's $170 off right now. So it's a really great deal. So $329.99, and again, that's our product of the day. It's the Vizio 5.1.2 channel soundbar system with 6-inch wireless subwoofer and Dolby Atmos. So there it is. Take advantage of that for our product of the day. All right, we got a lot coming up here on the show. We're going to have Luke Larson joining us here in just a little bit with the brand new Dell XPS 17-inch laptop. He's going to give his review. He's going to have it there to showcase it. Before that, though, we've got Caleb Dennison. He's going to be talking about some Samsung TVs. So that's coming up next. So stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Over years of reviewing TVs, I have found that sometimes you don't know how good a TV is until it's gone and you pick up something around the same price and it's not nearly as good. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Caleb Dennison, and today we're doing our full-on review of the Samsung Q90T. Now, in our unboxing and basic setup video, I kind of went on about how I was frustrated with Samsung pushing premium features up to the 8K TV line, making the flagship 4K look less like a flagship 4K, especially when you compare it to the Q90R of last year. But one thing you have to keep in mind is that this 65-inch Q90T is $2,500, and that's $1,000 less than the Q90R was last year. And honestly, if you look at the Q800T, it's only $3,200. So for similar features and performance, you're actually spending a little bit less. But if you only want a 4K TV, the Q90T is it. Let's take a look at how it performs. So my first question, how black can it get? And the answer is pretty stinking black. In fact, it shaves off a little bit of shadow detail to get the inky blackness there, but it's impressive. Definitely one of the things that Samsung has perfected over the years. Now, to do that, it's using a special layer, which both improves black levels and increases off-angle viewing so that you don't lose so much of the color and contrast when you're off to the side. The problem with that is that it kind of injects this rainbow effect in certain scenes. It's not super prevalent, definitely not something that leaps out at you, but it's an interesting side effect of that special layer. Overall, though, I'm going to take it because it really does look better off angle than most TVs. It is not, however, as good as the Q90R was last year. You're going to have to actually step up to the Q800T if that's important to you. But you know what? It's not a meaningful step down. Overall, I'm enjoying the black levels. As for blooming, not too shabby. The black levels maintain around bright objects on a black background. Unfortunately, as this test is probably revealing to you, we have some screen uniformity issues. This screen is supposed to be uniformly gray, and as you can see, it absolutely is not. In fact, it's pretty bad. I don't recall the last time I saw a Samsung that had this issue. It's hard for me to know how hard to be on the TV for this because it's down to the panel lottery, right? You may not get this problem, or you might. So it's unfortunate that we have it here. The dirty screen effect is very real. You do see it in regular content. It's one of those things where if you notice it, then you can't not see it anymore. And again, it comes down to what you get. So I would encourage anybody who chooses to purchase this TV to give it a good look when you get it home. And if you notice a problem, don't hesitate to exchange it for another one. Now, how bright can it get? Very bright. 1500 nits was what it maxed out at, and that was with a full white window. Interestingly though, in a different test, it maxed out at around 1300 nits. That was with a 10% window, which is more of a standard. So I think it's gonna come down to the content. But the bottom line is, it gets plenty bright to juice up HDR. In fact, that's kind of Samsung's thing. It over brightens images in HDR. That's been a thing that they've done for a while. Some people call Samsung out as that not being accurate. Others say it's brilliant. I love it. I love to look at it. So I guess it comes down to what do you want? Accuracy or brilliance? I personally don't mind it, but I do understand some folks are gonna want accuracy above all. And if that's your bag, maybe this TV isn't the right thing for you. Next up, color. And I got a lot of respect for this TV in the color department. Out of the box, in the movie mode, I did need to do a little bit of adjustment, but not a lot. It was not entirely accurate right out of the box, but it didn't take much for me to get it accurate. I would say that if you want to hire a calibrator, they can get it looking just right in very, very little time. So I have a lot of respect for the color, as I said, in both SDR and HDR. Again, though, it's going to be a little bit over brightened in HDR. I don't think many of you are going to mind that too much. Let's talk about gaming. Full disclosure, I have not gamed on this TV. Honestly, I forgot my Xbox at home. Oops. But it doesn't matter, because when it comes to gaming, I'm really interested in comparing this TV to the Sony X900H, because that Sony is the only one that has variable refresh rate. So we'll look closer at gaming soon, I promise you. For now, what I can tell you is the input lag is super low, about 10 to 10.5 milliseconds in game mode. And it does support FreeSync, so you get variable refresh rate. Auto low latency mode, it goes right into game mode when it detects a console. And yeah, I think it's going to be fantastic for gaming, honestly. The last major picture quality element I want to address is processing, right? Upscaling in particular. The TV is great at that, for sure. I'm a little bit spoiled because Sony has the market cornered on processing. So if you're streaming something that is low bit rate, it's going to clean it up pretty well. Not quite as clean as the Sony, but very respectable. And as for upscaling low resolution content, it does that just about as well as any TV out there. Frankly, there's a lot to like about this TV. It can get very bright, it controls blooming well, the contrast is excellent, the black levels are solid, the colors are pretty accurate out of the box and can get very accurate with a little bit of adjustment. That's all great. But then the issues really knock the score down a little bit for me. For one thing, we have some panel uniformity problems. I'm hoping that's not going to be widespread. But then this layer that they're using to get the wide angle and the anti-glare is causing this sort of rainbow effect, which honestly, if you've got any ambient room light coming, it highlights it, which is opposite of the intended effect. I'm gonna look at that a little bit more as we do some versus videos with this TV. But for now, I think it might be an issue for some folks. I would definitely recommend you go check this TV out at a local retailer before making a decision about whether you want to try it out at home. And again, if you have problems, you can always return it. I know it's a hassle, but I do think the TV is worth giving a shot. This is going to be one of the best LED TVs we see this year. The question is, how is it going to rank against the others? And that's something I'm looking forward to finding out.
And hello, everyone. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler again. Thank you for joining us wherever you are. We appreciate it. We'd like to keep you up to date with what is going on in the world of technology, and that includes new products like laptops, like a Dell, like an XPS 17-inch. We're going to talk about that right now. Joining us, we have our own Luke Larson here to talk about this. Luke, hello. How you doing?
Hey, Greg. Doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I know the Dell XPS line is a favorite of Digital Trends editors as far as the reviews that we've given before. But what do we have here? The 17-inch. That's the first time they've done this, right?
Yeah. The XPS 17. I've got it right here. It's a big boy, so I'll try to fit it in frame there. But that's a look at the at it right there. And yeah, so XPS 17. This is the 17-inch version of this laptop, like you've said, that we really like. There's an XPS 13, and there's also an XPS 15. But the XPS 17 obviously has a 17-inch screen, which, you know, if you can remember back to the days when 17-inch laptops were actually a thing people bought, it's been a while. You know, they used to have the MacBook Pro 17 and a number of other devices in that same category. But it's been a while since 17-inch laptops were a thing that were actually interesting, which this one really is an interesting laptop for a number of different reasons.
Well, let's go into some of that. I guess I think that is, you know, bringing these 17-inch laptops back and having that, I guess there must be a demand for it. People want bigger screens and they're using their laptops for more things, I would guess. But for this one, you said there are some specific things that are pretty cool about it. So let's walk through some of those.
Yeah, I mean, what you said is a great point. People are using their laptops for more different things than ever, and a big part of that is because they're more powerful than ever, and there's more because there's more opportunity for power. You can do more different things that people traditionally in the past had to either use a really chunky kind of workstation or honestly a desktop. So and that includes things like really content creation, video editing, 3D modeling, programming, all those kinds of things that take a little bit more not only CPU performance but also GPU performance. Before we get to performance, I just want to talk about the size of this because, like you said, 17-inch laptop. The reason why 17-inch laptops went away is because 15-inch laptops became really, really good. They became really powerful and they became a lot thinner than they were in the past. And Dell has basically brought that same mentality to the 17-inch size. So, it's hard to get a good gauge from my horrible view here. But basically, what you're getting here is a laptop that's not outrageously large. Because of the bezel size of what they do with the bezel. We've talked a lot about Dell's bezels, but because of what they've done by removing that bottom bezel, the entire footprint of the laptop is a lot smaller than 17-inch laptops have been in the past. And this thing is actually like the size of some 15-inch laptops from just a couple of years ago, and even some that are released today. So it's not outrageously large. And what you get in exchange, of course, is that huge screen that just feels really, really nice to work on. I've been working on this thing for almost a week now, and it's just been just having it open in front of you, and it doesn't matter what you're doing. It kind of brings to life whatever you happen to be working on. The performance, though, really is the big feature here because, like I said, there are other 17-inch laptops, and there are even some that are thinner and lighter, like the LG Gram 17. There's an HP 17-inch laptop, but this one, it's all about performance here because what you can do with this thing is really pretty impressive. It has the same CPU options as other, like the XPS 15 has, which is basically the best mobile processor you can get from Intel, 8 cores, 16 threads. But it's shared there. It's the same. So, to me, when I saw that, I was like, okay, it's not going to be any more powerful in terms of the processor. So that's kind of like, oh, well, what else you got? So, but the GPU is really where it gets powerful. So it has an NVIDIA RTX 2060. And this is the type of graphics card you see in a lot of gaming laptops, kind of mid-range gaming laptops. And what this system is able to do with it is kind of is really impressive. Not only is it a really good gaming laptop, which is like not really what it's meant for, but like it runs games just as well as a gaming laptop. I was comparing it to other gaming laptops that have the same graphics card. It's like just as good at putting out the really high frame rates in games. But I think what it's really meant for, and that's a kind of a side thing, it's a side benefit. The real thing that's meant for is that kind of creative work or working these heavy applications. The thing just is really, really powerful if you have an application that actually can use that GPU, because it's a hot, high wattage GPU that can suck up a lot of power, and they have a whole new thermal system inside that can keep that thing cool and keep it running. And it's really, really impressive. So like it's as a video editing laptop, it's one of the best you can buy for sure. And if you're into anything that can use the GPU, like 3D modeling or anything like that, I think you're really, really going to be impressed by the performance with this thing. You just don't see an RTX 2060 in a laptop that's this thin and this kind of small. So it's a pretty big achievement from that perspective alone.
Well, and taking a look at this too, I mean, because you mentioned all that performance, and I would think like right now, as a lot of people are working from home or, working in whatever, not going into the office anymore for a lot of people. So I would imagine having something like as powerful as this, that can be transported easy, is going to be pretty attractive to people. I guess the thing that I have to ask when it comes down to this is, what are we looking at on price level? Like what is the entry level on this?
The entry level is not bad. It's the Dell's pricing is kind of weird, but it's basically around $1,400, $1,350 to $1,400.
Oh.
Unfortunately, what you get in that perspective is not, in that price, is not crazy power. You're getting kind of a basic quad core laptop, 1080p screen, nothing too impressive, especially not on a 17-inch size. So that's kind of that entry level base model is for people who are like, I just like the idea of having a really big screen, in a sort of small footprint. And I think that's there's some people out there like that. I think of, I don't know, older people who maybe have some eye problems, or just people who would like the idea of the big screen for, like if you're on spreadsheets all day, or if you're doing something like that. It's pretty handy if you're not, hooking up to an external monitor all the time. The model I have here, though, is of course nowhere close to that in price. It is, let me just get this right because it's quite expensive. It's almost $3,000. It's $2,940. Comes with a 4K plus screen. The resolution is actually higher than a 4K screen. It's an amazing screen. It's so good. It's like the color precision is almost perfect, and it's really bright and really sharp. So you get what you pay for. Pretty much everything about this laptop is dialed in. The keyboard is amazing. It's 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports plus a full-size SD card slot. So it's got everything you could possibly want, but it is not cheap. And it's like $300 or $400 more than the XPS 15, pretty much across all the configurations. So this is an expensive laptop. It's cheaper than the MacBook Pro 16-inch, a similar configuration, but it's not far behind. It's up there for price for sure.
I mean, with 4 Thunderbolt ports, that's pretty impressive in its own right. I know we've got. Do you have the review up, or you've been using this all week? So I actually don't know where you're at in the process of that.
Yeah, you're getting my mid review update, you could say. So the review is going to be up we got a full video review as well coming up, probably towards the end of the week. And so definitely stay tuned. I know one thing that people probably are wondering about, and it was something that I was wondering about, was battery life. It's not great so far because it's a huge 17-inch 4K screen. It's kind of what I expected, and there's a lot of hot components inside. So you're looking at just 4 or 5 hours probably, and if you're doing anything intense, probably even less than that. So battery life is not the key feature here for sure. But if you go down to that 1080p screen, that's when you get the trade-off for sure.
That's where that's at. Well, definitely cool to see it in person and have you kind of walk through everything with it. Looking forward to the review. And we've got all the reviews for everything in computing. Wonderful hand modeling, by the way, by Luke Larson. I just want to call that out right now. So,
Thank you.
Luke, as always, great to talk to you. Thank you for showcasing this. Check out everything about Digital Trends computing section right there on the site. And Luke, I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Greg.
So that is the Dell XPS 17-inch right there, and we'll have a thorough review. As Luke said, he's testing it out right now. You got to see mid-review process where he's at with it. Coming up, we've got Ciara Pressler here for another edition of Work Life. We're going to be talking about resumes. In particular, a lot of people looking for jobs. A lot of people want to beef up their resume, maybe change careers. But what do you do with some of that maybe lapse of time in there? She's going to walk through all of that. That is why she's our expert, and that's coming up next. Stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. And this is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thanks for joining us wherever you are. We appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button because we like to keep you updated on all kinds of things, including things that have to do with your work and your life, your home life, both together. That's what it's called. It's Work Life. And of course, we are joined by Ciara Pressler to talk about some important things to help us all out. And I think something a lot of people are thinking about right now is their resumes and some things that you should probably know about that. And Ciara, thank you. Where do we want to start with this?
Well, let's talk about something that can haunt your resume, which is a resume gap. If you have taken time off or you've been unemployed for a while, how do you handle that gap in time on your resume?
A lot of people is a concern, whatever the reason may be, because you go in there, I can only imagine for an interview, and it's like, well, what were you doing with this time? So I guess let's walk through like why that's important and what some different ways are that you can handle that.
Sure. And a resume gap isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's a lot more common now than it used to be that people have taken time off for good reasons. It's not necessarily shameful if you were laid off or fired and you were out of work for a little while. But there's also really positive life reasons that people have a resume gap. Maybe you were getting an education, maybe you were traveling, maybe you were parenting. The whole point is that you want to tell the story in a way that puts you in control of why it all makes sense and why you're still a great candidate.
I love that. So yeah, presenting the story of why that happened. And I guess to start off with, how do you go about doing that to make sure that you're shining the right light on whatever the reason was?
Well, so if you're in a gap right now, what you want to do is stay in the game, stay sharp, keep your skills up. So even if you're not working, find a way to stay engaged. So there's plenty of online courses you could take. You can do things that build your skill set, or even volunteer, do some freelance work, some pro bono work. It's a great way to keep building up some things you could put on your resume so that you are on top of what you will need to have when you go in for your job interview. So, even having time off and not working is no excuse not to keep building your skills and building your experience. Now, if you had
So
a
don't,
resume gap,
oops, sorry.
yeah, if you had a resume gap in the past, it's okay. You can make up for it. I know early in my career when I was figuring out what I wanted to do next, I did a lot of gigs and a lot of freelance. And so what I did, because there was a lot of spots in there, is maybe I said, from this year to this year, I did various projects or freelance marketing. And then I put each company as bullet points under that. So you can kind of cover up a spread in your resume by grouping things together that were more gig oriented, side hustles, all of that.
That's great advice. I mean, so many people do have, work on a gig side of things where it's like one quick job here, but if you pile them all up, it looks great. Also, I like the idea of if you are in a in a point, where you're not working, try to stay away from watching Netflix all day long, and still find things to do to fill that gap. There's still a lot of stuff that can happen. That's great. Going from that and just talking about resumes in general, which can be challenging sometimes for people to make sure that you're doing it right. Like, what other kinds of tips do you have in association with this?
Well, your resume is about stating the facts, and so do not bend the truth here. Of course, you can tell the truth in the best light, but this is not a time to lie. I've heard people say everyone lies on their resumes. I don't. No one I know does. Don't do it. It'll catch up with you. But you can tell the story in the best light. And if you have a gap, maybe you had the opportunity to go travel for a year, go on a massive road trip. That's great, and I think people will really appreciate that. Use your cover letter or your intro email to explain that and talk about what you learned that is relevant to the role you're applying for.
That's great. So take all of that can be usable. Like you said, don't make anything up, but shine the right light on what it is that you did during that time. I mean, that's great, because that's not something I would think of like, oh, I went on this trip. Well, maybe there's something that applies. What else should we know?
Well, I think that if you're looking for an opportunity to stay busy, stay engaged, it doesn't have to be that formal. I think because you have nothing to lose right now, it's a really good time to go to your dream organization, maybe a dream company that maybe wouldn't be a fit for a full-time job, but say, listen, I've got 10 hours a week or, 20 hours a month, and I'd love to volunteer for you. I have experience with communications, and I have experience as a developer or something like that. Is there a project I could help you with, because I want to stay engaged while I'm on my job search? And let me tell you, anyone who is a director of a nonprofit, anyone who's a small business owner, a startup would welcome the help. I know I did a lot of interning and freelance projects and volunteering when I was in my career transition, and that was some of the most rewarding experience and great resume bullet points for my career.
That's, again, great advice, as you always give us here on the show. But I like that idea, too, for people who maybe aren't thinking about that. Like, you can go and be a part of, these organizations that maybe you have a dream for, and who knows, maybe that turns into a job, too, at some point. But let's give everybody else, though, some more guidance on where they can go to get more help for their careers and everything else that you do.
Absolutely. Well, this advice is straight out of my first book, Exit Stage Right. It's on Amazon.
Nice.
It is a career handbook geared toward people who are going from creative careers like in the arts, how to develop a career vision for a total career transition. You can get that over on Amazon, and you can see all of our latest advice and insights on creating success in your life and in your work at pregamemagazine.com and pregamehq.com.
Fantastic, Sarah Pressler. Always with great advice for us. And these work-life segments are up at Digital Trends too. So go back through, take a look at all of them. There's advice no matter what stage you're at in your career, or whether you're even not in a career right now, there is advice for you. And Sarah, as always, great to see you. Have a great weekend.
Happy holiday.
Sarah Pressler, right here on Digital Trends Live. Her segments are fantastic. So seriously, go through, take a look at everything she did, and pick up that book that she just brought up. Really can help a lot of people out. All right, continuing on here with Digital Trends Live. Up next, it's TBD. We've got Jess Serba, we've got Adrian Warner. What are they going to be talking about? I don't know. That's why it's TBD, but that's coming up next. Stick around, back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. And hello, everyone. This is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. As always, thank you for being here with us. And it is Wednesday, which means it's time for TBD. Last week, we talked about live streams of bears. What are we going to talk about this week? Well, we're going to find out together. Let's introduce our two hosts here with us. We have, first off, Jess Serba. Hello, Jess. How are you doing?
Hey, Greg. I'm wonderful. How are you?
I am doing well. I'm excited to find out what we're talking about. And let's go to Adrian Warner. Hello, Adrian. It's not going to be bears.
Hi, Greg.
Okay, fine.
Well, that's fine. But it's going to be good.
All right. Adrian, what are we going to talk about today?
Yes. Well, as you know, TBD stands for something different each week. And this week, we broke the rule a little bit. We're talking bodies of deep space. So I know deep space is, I know deep space isn't all one word, but I got to give credit to Jess for that wonderful, wonderful title. We're going to be talking about space, one of our favorite subjects, and all of the awesome events that you can view in the sky this weekend. So before we start, Greg, can I ask you, do you plan on watching any wonderful celestial events this weekend?
Wow, that's a lot of pressure. I guess, I don't know if that is pressure. Sure. Yeah. There's some celestial events going on. I will definitely be watching them. I can guarantee that.
Because I heard that you are a member of the Planetary Society. So I figure you might be clued into some of these things.
I have a certificate from Bill Nye that clarifies that as well. I'm sure it was personally written to me when I joined, but yes, I'm a member of the Planetary Society.
Bill Nye approved, yes.
Well, this weekend's going to be a really exciting time because obviously, you know, the 4th of July is happening on Saturday. Some places, you know, there might be some fireworks displays, but some may not be. I know that here in Portland, the public displays are canceled, but that's okay because space has got your back, and you're not going to want to look away from the sky anyways. Not only will there be fireworks in some areas, but there's also going to be a lunar eclipse. And not just that, but according to astronomers' predictions, a rare and a unique event known as a planet parade is going to be happening on July 4th. Now, that is a really fun term. What does it mean?
Yes, it is.
There's no official scientific term that's called a planet parade, but this is a widely used conventional name in astronomy to denote when the planets of the solar system line up in a row in the same area of the sky as seen by people on Earth. So, you know, as visible to the planets that are usually visible to us. So on July 4th, all of the planets of the solar system, including the dwarf planet Pluto, are going to be lining up on one side of the sun at the same time. Now, it's an important caveat to mention that they're not going to be in a very, very unique or not a very, very neat row. Sorry. It's, you know, everything is rotating in a three-dimensional space. And so things aren't going to be lined up exactly, but at least to the visible eye, they're going to be within kind of the same plane on the same side of the sun. And this is pretty rare. All of the planets lining up on the one side is frequent, but all of them together doesn't happen that often. The last planet parade of this type occurred in 1982, and the next one isn't expected until 2161. So how can you see it? On rare occasions, you know, there's good seeing conditions like this Saturday that we're going to experience. And as fun as it is to imagine, you know, like I said, they don't all line up in the same plane, but a lot of them are going to be visible. And I'm going to hand it over to Jess to tell you where in the sky to look and what to look for.
Nice.
Awesome. Yes. So, right. How do we see some of these planets? We turn to the good old almanac for some guidance.
We did.
We did.
Okay.
First of all, you're going to want to be looking during the 9:15 to 9:30 p.m. time frame. The step one is to start looking in the direction of the sunset, meaning west or a little bit north of west. The first thing you're going to be looking at is Venus. That's the first thing you're going to see. It's going to be the brightest thing in the sky at that time. And apparently, too, its brightness is due to its solid overcast clouds that are made of shiny drops of sulfuric acid. So the more you know. Once you've found Venus, if you're somewhere with a clear, unblocked view, you can look like all the way down to the northwestern horizon. You're going to want to look to the lower right of Venus. And if you see anything there close to the horizon, you're looking at Mercury. They say it's sometimes called an elusive planet. So if you do see anything there, that's awesome. There's not really going to be anything else visible there. So if you see something, it's probably Mercury. Next, we're going to find Jupiter. So according to the almanac, you want to start by facing Venus again. You then want to take your left arm, point it straight out and a third of the way up into the southern sky. And that is where you should see Jupiter. Saturn's next. So if you want to, first you want to look at the sky opposite of Venus. So you want to be looking in the southeast of the sky. And you should only see one bright star in that direction. And it's going to be at about the same height as Venus. And that's going to be Saturn. Just to note, you would need a telescope to see a telescope and at least 30 times magnification in order to see any of its rings, which, duh, but still, just so you know. To see the last of the classic bright planets, you'll have to wait just a little bit until after 11 p.m. At that point, you're just going to want to look in the direction of Saturn, and you should see Mars. For the rest of the night, Mars is going to be the brightest star in the sky, and it'll be orange, so you should be able to find it easily. I'm excited. Clearly, lots of exciting shows in the sky. I will be out there looking for all of these planets, and I'm assuming Greg will be too.
Oh yeah, I feel like people need to like take this episode and this can be their guide while they're doing it. So it'll be like Jess walking through. Adrian will give like the pre-roll for it. I mean, it's perfect. This is what people need to do. Also, who needs fireworks? This is nature's fireworks. That's what we have right here. I think that's better. It's better that way. All right,
Exactly.
So awesome. A planet parade. And going from that, I know we also have something else here every week for TBD. Adrian, what do we have?
Yes, so Kick Stop It is our little segment where we take a look at the wild world of crowdfunding. And this week we have a really exciting one. It is called We Are Rewind. And it is a Kickstarter project for a cassette player. You heard that right. It's a cassette player.
All right.
A couple of creators from Paris got together. They found a company in France that specializes in high quality audio equipment, and they decided to make a cassette player so that people can enjoy their cassette tapes again. It's kind of like a lovely design piece, as well as kind of a modern update of something that I assume, is kind of having maybe a nostalgic resurgence. I haven't personally seen a lot of people busting out their cassette collections. I don't know if cassette collection is a thing anymore, but it's quite an entertaining product. It's got two 3.5 millimeter sockets, so it has a headphone and a microphone jack. And one cool thing actually that I do like about it is it has Bluetooth. So you can listen to your cassettes via Bluetooth, which I thought was nice. It's a nice thing.
Yeah, I suppose so. Okay, so We Are Rewind, a cassette tape. Jess, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's chic, clearly, right? Like, it's very, as a piece.
Are cassettes chic? Like,
my only problem is, I like records. I understand people have record collections, but I don't have a cassette collection. I feel like at the end of my cassette days, they were all like pulled out and like, nothing is surviving in that sense. So for me, this wouldn't be something I could actually use. So I'm gonna kick stop it, y'all. It's beautiful, but that's where I'm at.
Adrian, what do you think?
I'm a little torn. I'm like thinking of my days where I used to make mixtapes, but I don't think I'd have any time for that anymore. So I kind of just want to kick it. Like, I like that it exists, but I don't want to kickstart it, nor do I want to kickstop it.
Back in with you there. This is a kick. Because
it's just a kick.
Yeah.
I just don't know about, actual use. So I think this is our
thing
first
is, though,
official kick.
I mean, then that's my thing. Like, who still has tapes? Like, maybe I've got a couple of tapes still around somewhere. I probably have like some old Weird Al tapes. That's probably all I have left. So I guess cool, but no, I'm kicking that as well. So unnecessary. All right, so that's a 3 for 3 on kicking, I think.
I think so. I think we're unanimous. I'm sure somebody else out there is gonna really love it. I'm like, I guess maybe I could go to Goodwill and buy some old cassette tapes, but not today.
All right. Well, I'll wait for the emails coming in from cassette lovers who are very angry at this segment right now. But I know for TBD, we do have one final thing.
Yes, we must take a look at Charlie Cam. He is, out there singing the song of his people every night. And he has to share it with the world. So enjoy.
Oh,
it's beautiful.
yes,
Old
it's
Charlie.
It's like
All
20 seconds of howling. Jess previewed it last night. It's magic to behold.
indeed.
All right, Charlie Cam, to close it out. Jess, Adrian, as always, excellent job. And I'll talk to you both soon.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, another successful TBD segment. We've gone from bears, we've gone to space. I mean, these are both things that I love so clearly. It's an amazing segment. All right, here is what's going on. We're wrapping up the show today, but I have a special announcement. I won't be here tomorrow. Digital Trends Live will be, but Caleb Dennison, the venerable CD, will be, I just made that up right now, the Leb, will be hosting the show tomorrow. And so big thank you to Caleb Dennison, but we've got an action-packed show as usual. Lisa Marie Segar will be here with gaming news. We're going to have Rick Marshall for real news. All of that's happening tomorrow. And to catch that, you just hit subscribe. Whatever platform you're on, hit subscribe. And then you'll get the notification as soon as we go live. And you join Caleb tomorrow. I'll be back on Monday. We're off on Friday. All that being said, we're here for you. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it very much. And I'm Greg Nibbler. You'll see this show again tomorrow at 9 a.m. with another edition of Digital Trends Live.